Hi, welcome back. If you came from the other video, thanks for tuning in. Clearly, if you're watching this video, you don't plan on reading The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, the Hunger Games prequel book. If you plan on reading that, I'm warning you, big warning right now, do not watch this video. I'm going to be spoiling the entire plot piece by piece. This video is for someone who may not want to read the book, but is interested in what it is about. Mind you, I will be making jokes during this whole time. Some of them you'll get better if you watch the other video of my review, so go ahead and check that out first. But if you're here to stick around, welcome. Let's get to it. I'm pretty much just going to be reading right off this page because poor planning. So the book starts out with our boy Coriolanus. I'll call him Corny most of the time. Corny is the youngest member of the once powerful Snow family, which you would be familiar with if you read the trilogy, who has since fallen on hard times, and I'm supposed to sympathize with that fact, I think. It's our understanding that this year at the 10th Hunger Games, young people from the Academy, a prestigious school for rich people, will be partnered with tributes in some sort of mentorship program. If you saw my other video, you know that this mentorship program was literally nothing until about a third of the way through. So Corny is partnered with a girl tribute from District 12. We're familiar with those girl tributes from District 12. We immediately jump into the tribute parade where Snow's tribute, whose name is Lucy Gray Baird, wins audiences over by singing a song. This chapter is almost identical to the Girl on Fire chapter from Hunger Games, only with less symbolism, or maybe just more of the exact same symbolism we got in Hunger Games. Snow thinks he may have actually gotten a good tribute or someone who is worth mentoring, I guess. All the while, there's like vague talk about what the mentors get for doing a good job and winning the Hunger Games with their tribute. At this point, it seems like a scholarship or something in regards to the university that they all go to, which is appealing to Cornelius because he's now poor. Also at this time, Snow meets the current game master, the zany, wacky, silly Dr. Gall, who starts sentences with hippity-hoppity and tries to rhyme, so you'll want to die at this part. I had flashbacks to Bunny Day. Corny sneaks into the transport that's bringing the tributes to the Capitol and meets his tribute, Lucy Gray. If you thought Katniss was a Mary Sue, wait till you meet Lucy Gray. Mary Sue, more like Larry Grew. And she's like pretty chill about the whole thing, but she's like delighted that Snow met her so early. It gets him points in her eyes as well as in the public eye. He ends up in a monkey cage with them, as that's where they're being kept, and he gets a demerit from his headmaster at the academy for doing this stunt. There's no more demerits in this story. I don't know why the one demerit is supposed to be this big thing. He doesn't get any more. He says like 2 more and you're expelled, but he never gets any more. Corey in the house's rival, who very quickly turns into his friend, his name is Sejanus, is from a family that managed to move from the districts to the capital, which I don't think should be able to be a thing in this world. Anyway, Sejanus is completely hung up about the concept of the Hunger Games. He doesn't agree with it. All the mentors start showing up at the monkey cages to get some points, but none of them do, as well as Cornelius. Sejanus, as it turns out, is partnered with the guy he went to school with in the districts, and that doesn't really come into play that deeply either. Meanwhile, the mentors are asked to create a proposal to increase Hunger Games viewership. Don Corleone takes the lead on this by having 2 ideas that get muddled. One proposal is to allow gambling on the games, the other was to allow people to send items to the tributes while they fight. A concept we know works because it's integral to the original trilogy. You'll notice that the mentors at this point, like I said, they don't do anything. There's no mentorship that they're going through. In fact, they're constantly breaking rules by visiting the tributes in the first place. I don't know what the original idea was of the mentors, but they don't do anything until sponsorship becomes a thing. Yeah, Snow lies to Dr. Gall that he and another mentor worked on the proposal when it was solely my boy Corny. And this is absolutely one of the most ridiculous and jarring scenes in the whole book. She puts the proposal in a pit of mutated snakes. They bite anything with an unfamiliar scent. So when the other mentor reaches down in there, they bite her, but they don't bite Snow. And she almost dies. It's a bit of an overreaction to plagiarism. Snow goes to the monkey cage again, and it's the same every time. It's like they're falling in love. And Snow is becoming more human, but he shows no sign of it whatsoever. And that is the biggest issue of this whole book. The story is just functional. It's just to get from point A to point B. There's no growth. There's no moral stakes. It's all just Snow becoming Snow, but not even really that. So I don't know what this book's about. So the tributes and the mentors take a trip to the arena, which is basically a coliseum in the capital where they hold the games. And somebody had planted bombs. Snow is hospitalized along with two other mentors. 8 tributes die, 2 mentors die, and a bunch more tributes are injured. When the blast goes off, Lucy Gray helps Snow rather than tries to escape. This is supposed to be a character moment, but like it's not, because she didn't have an option. If she had tried to escape, she just would have died. It's not a this or that situation. It's like, I might as well, while I'm here, help him and not let him die. In the hospital, Snow is visited by Clemencia, who he calls Clemmy, which is an easier name to say, so I'm going to go with that. That's the snakebite girl. She says her parents haven't been allowed to visit her, and she's afraid Gaul would kill her, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, and also doesn't come into play at all. There's no conspiracy or anything going on. There's no conspiracy against Clemmy or anyone around her. They're just actually doing the right thing by quarantining her. We're all familiar with what that's like. The first part ends with a meeting of all the remaining tributes and mentors. Lucy Gray tells Snow that as payback for saving his life, he can just believe in her. Ain't that the cutest? The next couple chapters explore their romance in a little more depth, and Snow really asserts that Lucy Gray has a chance. She sings an original song she wrote about an ex-lover at the interview stage where they're interviewed by a flickerman. And the song's about an ex-lover, and Snow gets jealous. They kiss the night before the games. And boom, games start. But the tribute who escaped, Marcus, also Sejanus's tribute, has been caught. When the games open, Marcus is chained, bloodied in the center of the arena. This is literally the first time Snow acts like the games affect him at all. Another tribute, Lamina, kills Marcus and is the only fatality of the first day before a boy chokes due to asthma. Not much else happens on the day 1 of the games. It's kind of a stalemate. They all just kind of run to separate corners and hide. But that evening, Snow heads home and Sejanus's mom shows up at their house asking if he had come by. Sejanus had stormed out after seeing Marcus. Snow says nah and walks Mrs. Sejanus to her car. But on the way, they see on the screen a shadowy figure approach a sleeping Lamina near Marcus's body. His mom identifies that it's Sejanus immediately. Finally, almost halfway through the book, I'm like, okay, something's happening now. Corny and Ma are summoned to get Sejanus out of the arena. Snow decides he'll go in alone and makes it to Sejanus. They have a quick conversation about how he would have become a martyr if he died here. They've blacked out the screens. No one would even know that Sejanus died here. It's pointless to risk his life for a person who's already dead. Sejanus realizes his best bet is to leave, but not without Marcus, so Snow helps him carry the boy's body to the entrance where they're jumped by a tribute. During their escape, Corny takes a knife to the arm and manages to kill the tribute who assaulted him. When he gets out, Coriolanus deals with this for a couple pages before moving on. The next day, a cover story is given for the dead tribute, and another tribute is killed during the day. But before the events of the day begin, Sejanus's father announces that they will pay for the winning mentor a full ride to university. So now there's stakes to the story. 250 pages into the 500-page book, we finally have stakes. Lucy Gray's fellow District 12 tribute dies of rabies, and Lucy Gray stands over him until he dies. Snow's cousin Tigress that night tells him the tax bill came and they have no money, so they're going to lose the house. A few more tributes die, and Coriolanus finds himself in Gull's office, where he puts 2 and 2 together to realize she plans on throwing the snakes from earlier into the arena to drum up competition. In an act of desperation, Coronavirus drops Lucy Gray's handkerchief into the pit of snakes so they're used to her scent. Next day, they drop the snakes and they absolutely destroy it in there. Like, they're the MVPs of the 10th annual Hunger Games. But Lucy Gray starts singing and they weave themselves into a dress around her. Yep. The snakes weave themselves into a dress around Lucy Gray. That is a thing that happens in this book. Yada yada, Lucy Gray wins, and honestly the games in this book are kind of secondary to the plot, which is totally fine. We already know what the Hunger Games are. She wins. That's all you need to know. I could have just skipped that whole previous section and said Lucy Gray wins the Hunger Games. After her victory, Snow is called into the office of the Dean of the Academy, where he has the handkerchief on a table. They have a brief exchange, and Snow agrees that he will basically be exiled to being a peacekeeper, aka cop. This part was a bit confusing. The second part of the book ends with it just saying, like, After 5 minutes of a conversation, Snow left the office, headed to District 12 to be a peacekeeper or something like that. And then the next part begins by explaining what happened in that conversation. A weird way to write it, but I guess it was effective because it was pretty suspenseful. So basically, yeah, he was given the choice, although it doesn't make sense why he'd get to choose in the first place. Either become a peacekeeper or something else. They never say. But he doesn't act like it's death, so I don't really know. Anyway, after a couple weeks in the Peacekeeper's training course, he's joined by Sejanus. Corny catches word that a band will be performing near them in a week or so. One of his peacemaker buddies goes, the lead singer is Lucy something. Because, of course. He realizes he needs to get to the show and see the woman he loves. Before that, Snow is sent on duty to guard a public execution. Not much comes out of that scene. So now we move on to the concert where Lucy Gray plays songs with her family band. It was at this point I realized I had no clue what's going on in this book. This is like a little over halfway through. I thought the book was going to like wrap up soon after the Hunger Games, but they just ended right smack in the middle of the book. And now it's just what comes after. This part would have been much better in my opinion if it were years into the future and it had been a little longer since he'd seen Lucy Gray. It felt like they were away for like a month or so and they come back and they're like, it's been so long. I knew you for less time than we were apart. After the concert, Lucy Gray's ex, Billy Top, starts a fight in the club. Corny isn't able to get to Lucy Gray that night. But a day or two later, he and Sejanus manage to get off base to meet up with her. It's sweet, I guess. Billy Top shows up to the house and is having a good conversation with Sejanus. Corny looks closer and sees that Billy Top is drawing a map of the base in the dirt. Oh no. Sejanus is obviously a rebel sympathizer. If you didn't see that coming, you didn't read the book. They head back to the base and Sejanus begins to do some research into what it would take to be a peacemaker doctor. Corny starts studying to become an officer. Later on, Corny finds a fat stack of cash in Sejanus' stuff. Next concert, Lucy Gray sings a song about how she got her name. It's uninteresting. Corny looks around and sees Sejanus has hoofed it, gone in a flash. More romance stuff. Peacemakers are tasked with collecting and tagging mockingjays in the area. While at the place they drop them off, Sejanus is going to come clean about something, so Corny secretly sets the Jabberjays to record so he can record what Sejanus is going to tell him. Because at this point, we have no reason to believe that Snow is against the Capitol. We also have no reason to believe he's for them. So it's really just, your guess is as good as mine, and I read the book. The next chapter of this book was an absolutely insane, wild ride. I don't know how to explain. So Sejanus admits that he's part of an escape plan with Billy Top. They're going to bust out of the district and head into the wilderness. If there are others, they're not really mentioned. Corny sends the Jay to the Capitol, to Dr. Gall. And Corny kind of just goes along with it. He doesn't want a part of it, and he tries to convince Sejanus out of it, even though he already sent the Jabberjay. It was also at this point that I realized the two main characters' names both ended with anus. Next concert, Sejanus sneaks out to a shed out back. Corny follows him to see what's up and finds him talking with Billy and another rebel, Spruce. Lucy Gray shows up behind Corny. She lies to Spruce and says she's with Billy. I don't know why. Suddenly, the mayor's daughter, who Billy cheated on Lucy Gray with, appears in the corner. Mayor's daughter threatens to expose their plans. Spruce goes to shoot her. Billy stops him. So Corny shoots her dead. Billy freaks out, so Spruce shoots him too. None of this makes any sense. I get killing the mayor's daughter, but Spruce, who is like Billy's partner in crime, just lifts up his shotgun after almost no discussion, after no reason, and shoots Billy. Not even like in a panic mode sort of way. They make it out and all is good, I guess. Spruce goes into hiding. Lucy Gray gets back on stage to have an alibi. Then a day later, Spruce is caught. Then Sejanus vanishes. Turns out he was thrown under the bus. And then he gets hanged. Straight up. Dealing with the fallout, Lucy Gray convinces Snow that they should run away together. He agrees to it, and they're going to leave in the middle of the night. The morning before, Snow learns he is leaving the next day for officer school. This doesn't matter, though, because he has to go. They escape, and I laughed through this whole chapter because it is amazing. It's like, it's worth reading the book just for this final chapter. It legitimately reads like a South Park episode. So after a couple of hours in the wilderness, this is the same day, the sun hasn't set yet. A couple of hours in the wilderness, they find a bag with the incriminating weapons that the peacemakers would use as evidence to hang Snow. Since they're out of bounds, he realizes he could go back. But Lucy Gray steps out of their shelter and vanishes. Snow immediately turns into Daenerys when she snaps. Just out of nowhere becomes absolutely insane. He starts hunting for Lucy Gray because like she might be the last piece of the puzzle that they could finally accuse him of something, but she wouldn't do that. He's lost his mind in 2 hours in the woods, and I'm just dying laughing at this point. And while he's out there, he gets bitten by a snake, which he accuses Lucy Gray of doing to him. He hobbles around the woods for a while trying to find her like Jack in The Shining, and he doesn't find her, so he heads back. He hops on a train to District 2, where he'll be trained as an officer, but it stops at the capital where Dr. Gall thanks him for his duty to Pan Am and reveals that sending him to be a peacemaker was all part of her plan, like a nonsensical mentorship program, I guess. I was dying at this point. It makes no sense whatsoever. He learned nothing from being a peacemaker, and the other stuff that happened to him could not possibly have been calculated by Dr. Gall. But the part where he's hunting Lucy Gray, I just can't get over the fact that he was literally out there for a couple hours. He went on like a nice hike, found some guns, and then went insane. In the epilogue, Sejanus's family kind of adopts Snow into theirs. Their family is saved by them. It's an okay epilogue. I kind of like where it ends up. Then he meets with the Dean of the Academy, who has been nothing but evil so far, and apparently he and Corny's dad invented the idea of the Hunger Games for a theoretical project in Dr. Gall's class when they were younger, and the Dean is ashamed that it ever came to fruition. The book ends with Snow poisoning the Dean's supply of a drug he's addicted to, and I don't really get why. This guy is not Snow's enemy in the slightest. He threatened to send him away, but I'm pretty sure that was on Dr. Gall's wishes in the first place, but he ends up being a mentoree to Dr. Gall. It was such a bizarre ending. I like where he ended up in his life. I don't like where he ended up as a job. It doesn't make any sense at all. There's a lot of issues with this book. You can hear my whole thoughts about it in the other video. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. If you like this video, like it, subscribe. I might do more of these where I just spoil an entire book for fun, because it's kind of fun to just go through a book really quickly like that. Because I know that for me, there are a lot of books out there that I never am going to read, so I just want to watch someone talk about it and tell me why it's bad or it's good, or just tell me what happens in it. So yeah, like I said, feel free to like this video, leave a comment below about what you thought about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Love you guys. See ya.